Hello everyone, my name is Martín Corvera and I am the head of projects and innovation at Fundación Ciudadanía Inteligente. In this lightning talk I will tell you about La Constitución es Nuestra, or The Constitution is Ours in English, which was a platform sought to bring Chile's constitutional process closer to citizens and civil society organizations. First, I would like to give you a brief context about the constitutional process in Chile. In October of 2019 emerged in Chile the most significant social movement that the country has experienced since the recovery of its democracy 30 years ago. In that context, one of the main demands of the protest was the idea of changing the current constitution, which was written in the dictatorship. Thus, after massive mobilization, in November of 2019, the Congress signed an historic agreement to hold a referendum on a new constitution for the country. The referendum took place and the majority approved the idea of a new constitution by a constitutional convention procedure. The convention was going to be like a Congress, but with the only mission of writing the new constitution. The process was designed to last 1 year. Then, by the end of that year, it would be a new referendum to approve or reject the text that the convention was going to propose. So, 155 members were democratically elected for the Constitutional Convention, including gender parity in the representation, reserving seats for native peoples, and list of independents. In that context, we created the platform La Constitución es Nuestra. The project aimed to strengthen the capacity of civil society organizations to generate solid constitutional reform proposals, support advocacy on political and constitutional issues, and to inform about the constitutional process. To achieve these objectives, we designed a platform for NGOs and citizens to generate citizen proposals for the Constitutional Convention. The idea was to create a civic tech mechanism for citizen advocacy to include the experience and the agendas of civil society in the constitutional debate. Apart from the platform, we designed a complete strategy for the project, including mapping organization, a communicational plan, strategic alliances with NGOs and the Constitutional Convention, civic education workshops, and accompaniment in creating constitutional proposals. In that stage, parallel to the convention's work, the platform gathered more than 30 organizations and 260 proposals. We were implementing the project in a context of an entirely institutional process that was new for the country, with no previous experience and a very few resources for the action. So we understood that our role was also to contribute to the development of this constitutional process. That's how we linked our work with the Constitutional Convention's Participation Secretary. They had the idea to create an official platform for citizens to propose norms for the Constitution, similar to ours. So we decided to join them with technical and methodological support, and we also helped them communicatively by disseminating the project of the Constitutional Convention with our networks and users. That official platform of the convention received 2,460 proposals, and the ones that gathered 50,000 supporters on the website could enter into the discussion of the Constitutional Convention. Finally, 77 reached the support and could join the Constitutional Convention deliberation. For us, collaborating with this official platform allowed us to concretely connect the citizen proposal raised in La Constitución es Nuestra with the work of the convention. During the process, we also saw the importance of having the flexibility to adapt our project to new scenarios that were taking place around this constitutional process, such as fake news, misinformation, and complex information. In that context, we identified that one of the main problems around the constitutional process was the difficulty in understanding and following the work of the convention and the new text they were preparing. That scenario was critical because the more complex the information and the process was, the more option for misinformation to grow. Therefore, we started a new project step, focused on creating good information in a user-friendly and understandable design to reach targets widely misinformed. Our strategy was to use civil society's knowledge and network to explain and disseminate the constitutional content. We knew each organization had expertise in a particular topic, such as health, education, housing, among others. So, through a simple questionnaire, we invited hundreds of organizations and academics to evaluate and translate the norms. The questions were based on explaining the different articles of the new constitution in terms of quality of life and human rights standards. Then, our content team processed the responses of the evaluators, and our designers created user-friendly, simple, and understandable communicational products to share on our website, social networks, and our communities. The platform gathered 50 organizations and academics who evaluated and translated around 100 articles of the constitutional proposals. With this large amount of information on our website, we used the connection and alliances to generate a digital and territorial dissemination plan so that more people could approach the proposal of the new constitution. We produced products for social media, a media kit for allied organizations, and different materials to distribute. Also, we used the information to facilitate workshops, face-to-face workshops, to explain the Constitution to historically excluded groups who are not part of the political debate. Within the territorial plan, we added our material with the delivery of 30,000 copies of the new text of the constitutional proposal. And in addition, we distributed 35,000 physical copies of the translated norms that we were preparing in our website. The great lesson learned from these two stages of the platform and the project is that their value lies in understanding them as infrastructures that facilitate a project, but they are not the project itself. They are a digital space that play a role for organizations and citizens to join a process. Still, they must be accompanied by strategies and plans for communication and territorial dissemination. Last September 4th, the final referendum of the constitutional process took place. The result was that the majority rejected the proposed text. So at the moment, new political discussions are taking place to see how to continue the process for a new constitution. The current context offered as a moment to reflect on the project and take the main learnings. There will be probably a new constitutional process so that we can continue with the project, adapting it according to the context. We are sure that all the content we produce and the organization alliances could be significant contribution to the next iteration of the constitutional process that we are waiting that what is going to happen. Also, we could redeploy this project in other political processes to strengthen the advocacy capacity of civil society organization on political and constitutional issues and to fight against misinformation. Thank you very much.